The spaceport was a city of motion, metal-clad passengers brushed past each other like threads in a frayed tapestry. Voices tangled in dozens of dialects, neon signs flashed incomprehensible symbols, and cargo drones zipped overhead like wasps. Amid the chaos, no one noticed the woman sitting on the edge of the arrival's deck, knees drawn to her chest, her silver-tinged skin covered in a thin film of dust and exhaustion. Nelly had not eaten in 2 days. Her eyes, once vibrant with violet light, were dull and dry. Her long hair, once carefully wrapped and braided per her homeworld's mourning traditions, hung limp around her thin face. Her ceremonial band was gone, confiscated at customs. She had no money. No contacts. No plan. And one sunset left. The planet of Kyrian, 7 was supposed to be a haven. A neutral colony city known for its interstellar trade. But even here, laws from her own world, the ones that reached like poisoned roots into distant soil, found her. According to the edict of the silenced widow, Nelly had 72 hours after her husband's death to bond herself to a new protector, male, approved, legal, or she would become property of the guild. They called it reallocation for survival. She called it what it was, enslavement. Today was the final day. If no one claimed her by dusk, her name would enter the registry of the unclaimed. That meant auction. That meant chains. She had spent the first day grieving. The second searching. Now, on the third, she simply sat, her body too weak to run, her spirit too worn to cry. She did not notice the man until he was directly in front of her. "Hey," a quiet voice said. Nelly flinched and looked up slowly, muscles tense. A human stood before her, a paper bag in one hand and a soft expression on his dust-worn face. His jacket bore a few frayed edges, and his boots had walked more than their share of miles. He looked about 30, older than she'd hoped for, younger than she'd feared. He crouched down to eye level but kept his distance. "You look hungry." She said nothing. No one had spoken to her all day. Not with kindness. He extended the bag. "I was going to eat this, but I think you need it more than I do." Nelly hesitated. Her pride screamed at her to refuse. Her body screamed louder. She took the bag with trembling hands. Inside was a simple sandwich. Dry protein strips and bread, still warm. It might as well have been a feast. She tried to say thank you but her throat was tight. She lowered her eyes, ashamed. The man sat cross-legged a few feet away and pulled a thermos from his coat. He didn't speak again for several minutes. It was the silence she trusted more than the food. Eventually, Nelly whispered, "Why did you stop?" He sipped his drink. "Because no one else did." There it was again, simple, quiet truth. No pretense. No performance. Just honesty. Her hands, thin and bruised, clutched the sandwich. A bite. Then another. It tasted like life. "My name is Nelly," she said softly. "I'm Darren." She nodded, memorizing it. A name was a seed. And she was dying for roots. He waited until she had eaten half the sandwich before asking, "Are you in trouble?" She took a shaky breath. This was the moment she had dreaded, and hoped for. "My husband died 3 days ago. I left my planet to escape the Reclaimer Guild. But, our customs, our laws," she swallowed hard. "If I don't bond with someone by sunset, they will come. Take me. Sell me." Darren didn't interrupt. She appreciated that. "I've asked a dozen men for help," she continued. Some laughed. Some ran. One offered to marry me for 10,000 credits. She looked at him then, her voice barely a whisper. "I have nothing to give." Darren exhaled and rubbed the back of his neck. "You're asking me to marry you?" "Yes. You don't even know me." "I know enough." She looked him in the eyes. You stopped. For a long moment, neither spoke. Finally, Darren stood and held out a hand. I can't promise anything permanent. But I won't let anyone take you today. Nelly stared at his hand. Then, slowly, like someone stepping off the edge of a cliff, she placed hers in his. They walked in silence through the city. Nelly clung to the sandwich bag as if it were sacred. Darren led her through a maze of alleys and metal staircases until they reached a modest repair shop with a rusted sign that simply read, Darren Salvage. Upstairs was a small apartment. Nothing lavish, just one room, one couch, one table. But it was warm and clean. Darren fetched a towel and showed her the washroom. You can shower if you want. Hot water still works. Usually. Nelly hesitated. You're safe here, he added. No one's going to hurt you. She nodded and disappeared behind the door. When she returned, her hair was wet but untangled. Her alien clothing, which had been torn and stained, had been replaced with a soft t-shirt and worn pants from Darren's closet. They hung loosely on her frame. Darren handed her a steaming bowl of soup. She sat on the floor beside the table and ate in small, reverent bites. He waited. What kind of marriage would this be? He asked eventually. Real? Legal? Temporary? She set the bowl down. By Kirothi law, even a human bond is recognized if registered. No need for ceremony. Just names. A scan. A declaration of intent. He frowned. That's it? She nodded. They call it ancient protocol. It's mostly symbolic. But the guild can't override it. Darren thought for a long moment. And after that? I'd be free. He looked at her. Really looked. There was strength behind the fear, resilience buried beneath exhaustion. Nelly, I don't know if I can be what you need. I fix broken machines. Not people. I don't want to be fixed, she said quietly. I just want to be free. They slept in shifts. Darren gave her the couch. Nelly refused at first but relented when he assured her the floor wasn't so bad. In the early morning, Darren made a decision. He walked over to her and sat on the floor beside the couch. I'll marry you. Nelly's breath caught. We'll go to the registry this morning, he said. We'll make it official. Even if it's just on paper. I won't let them take you. Nelly looked at him with wide eyes. Her lips parted. Why? Darren gave a tired smile. Because no one else did. At the outer ring government complex, time was running short. The sun was already above the towers. The line was long. We'll never make it in time, Nelly whispered, her hands clenched in front of her. Darren looked around and spotted a back entrance, a supply gate with a single guard. Wait here. He approached the guard and spoke low and quick. The guard, unimpressed at first, became alert when Darren showed his ID chip and Nelly's documentation. There was a brief exchange. Then the gate opened. Darren returned, breathless. Come on. We've got 20 minutes. They were led into a smaller chamber inside the registry office, where an administrative droid processed their declaration. Names? The droid asked. Darren Merrick, he said. Nelly Korath, she whispered. The droid scanned their identities. Processing. Verifying legal match. Bond compatible. Darren reached out and gently took Nelly's hand. She gripped his fingers tightly. Please confirm, the droid said. Do you enter this bond of your own free will? Yes, they said together. A soft beep. A green light. Bond recorded. Marital status updated. This bond is now recognized across all sectors where interplanetary codes apply. Nelly's knees gave way. She staggered. Darren caught her. It's done, he said. You're safe. She pressed her forehead to his chest. Thank you, she whispered. You don't know what this means. He held her, unsure of what the future would bring, but knowing one thing. He would never let her go. Darren had lived alone for so long, his apartment felt foreign with another presence in it. Even now, just 2 days after they'd registered the bond, he found himself instinctively listening for the quiet shuffling of Nayli's feet across the floorboards or the soft murmurs she made when she dreamed. Her presence didn't invade his space, it lingered like perfume after rain, subtle, not unwelcome, but different enough to notice. He hadn't married out of love. Not yet. But neither had he done it out of guilt. She needed freedom. He'd offered it. That should have been the end of it. But somehow, it didn't feel like an ending. It felt like the start of something neither of them knew how to name. Nayli was cautious in every movement. When she cooked a simple breakfast of warm grain and root paste, she offered it with her head slightly bowed. When she used the sink, she dried it afterward and apologized for the water noise. When she stood near the window, she always glanced toward the door, as if expecting it to burst open with men in chains. Darren watched all of this quietly, unsure of how to address it. You don't have to act like a guest, he said one morning as they sat at the table. You live here now. Nayli kept her gaze on her bowl. I don't want to impose. You're not imposing, he said, then paused. You're my wife. She stiffened at the word, not with fear, but with something harder to name. Conflict. Guilt. Maybe even grief. I don't know how to be a wife without being something else, she said softly. Back home, it meant obedience. Silence. Carrying burdens without complaint. That's not what you meant when you said yes, is it? Darren leaned back in his chair. No. I didn't marry you to own you. I did it to protect you. But if we're sharing this space, we need to talk to each other. She nodded, slowly. Then I want to understand what this is. Between us. What you expect. What I'm allowed to be. Her words struck him. Nayli, he said, voice low, you're allowed to be you. That's it. That's all I ask. Later that day, Darren returned to the repair bay beneath the apartment. The smell of scorched wires and rust was oddly comforting. A busted power regulator lay on his workbench. He should have felt focused. Instead, he kept glancing at the stairs. His memory drifted back to the day of the registration. The scan. The quiet yes they had both given. He hadn't lied. But he hadn't told the whole truth either. Darren hadn't lived this far into the outskirts of Curian 7 by accident. He'd come here to escape the noise of the inner worlds, where his last relationship had ended in more than heartbreak, it had ended in ruin. Someone had used him, bled his shop dry, then vanished. He'd trusted the wrong person once. He swore he wouldn't do it again. And now, here was Nayli. Small. Wounded. But not weak. And maybe, just maybe, stronger than she realized. That evening, she came down into the workshop. He was crouched beneath a hoverlift engine when he heard her footsteps. I made stew, she said softly. Do you want some? He rolled out from under the engine and sat up, wiping grease from his hands. Yeah. Thanks. She handed him a small bowl. He took a bite. Surprisingly good. Better than he'd expected. You cook. I wasn't allowed to use the kitchen often, she said. But when I did, I watched. I remembered. It made me feel useful. You don't need to be useful to be wanted, he said, not thinking about the words until they left his mouth. Nayli stared at him for a moment. Then she sat on the bench across from him. You speak like someone who's been betrayed. Darren looked at her, surprised. Why do you say that? You flinch when you say something kind, like you're not used to meaning it. Or like someone punished you for it once? He didn't answer. That silence was enough. Nayli nodded. I won't ask about her. But if she's why you hesitate with me, I understand. I don't hesitate with you, Darren said quietly. I just don't want to break something fragile. I'm not fragile, she said. Not anymore. And something about the way she said it made him believe her. The next day, everything changed. It started with a message. Darren opened it during lunch. The words scrolled in bright red. Unverified union, alert. Your recent marital registration has been flagged for inspection by the Central Interstellar Registry. Due to cross-system discrepancies in recognition laws, your bond may not be honored beyond Sector 4. A representative has been dispatched to assess intent. Darren blinked. What the hell? He ran upstairs. Nayli was seated at the window, trimming dead leaves from a plant. We have a problem, he said. She looked up, already sensing danger. He showed her the message. As she read, her face drained of color. They're testing the bond, she whispered. They want proof it's real. Why? Because some colonies don't consider human bonds permanent. Especially not ones made with refugees. They think it's fraud. What do they expect? Darren said. That we lie in a bed for them and pose for pictures. They'll want more than that, she said grimly. They'll want interviews. Witness statements. Physical closeness. Affection. If we fail their test, they'll nullify the bond. And then? They'll send me back into the system. Back to the guild. Darren stood still. A long moment passed. Then he said, we make them believe it. Nayli looked at him sharply. You pretend? No, he said. I won't pretend. But I'll show them the truth. That I chose you. That I'd choose you again. 2 days later, the inspector arrived. She was human. Young. Sharp suit. Cold eyes. Her name was Kesra Volume and she didn't waste time. I am here to verify the legitimacy of your marital bond as registered on Curian 7, she said, standing in their small living room. Due to conflicting codes in sectors 4 through 7, cross-species marriages initiated under duress are often invalidated unless substantial proof of sincerity is provided. Darren stood beside Nayli. He could feel her tension radiating like heat. I understand, he said. What do you need from us? Interviews. Together and separate. Photos. Letters, if any. Shared possessions. Evidence of cohabitation. Nayli spoke quietly. You want proof of a shared life. Kesra didn't smile. Yes. They sat for hours, answering questions that became increasingly invasive. When did you first meet? Who initiated the bond? Do you sleep in the same room? What does he smell like when he wakes up? What color is her favorite mug? Nayli surprised him with her calm. She answered clearly, confidently. Her voice never cracked. And when they asked Darren what Nayli did when she was scared, he replied. She starts cleaning. Or cooking. She pretends she's fine, but she tightens her jaw. Nayli looked at him then. Something unspoken passed between them. Later, after Kesra left, she sat beside him on the couch. You notice things, she said. I try, he said. You could have lied. I didn't. I know, she whispered. That's what scares me. The next morning, the decision came. Marriage verified. Your union has been authenticated and updated across all connected systems. The inquiry is closed. No further action required. Nayli sat on the bed, staring at the message. Then she set the device down and covered her face with her hands. And for the first time in weeks, she cried, not from fear, but from release. Darren sat beside her, unsure whether to hold her or leave her space. She made the choice for him, leaning against his shoulder, her hand resting over his heart. "You saved me again," she murmured. "No," he said. "You saved yourself. I just stood beside you." She smiled through tears. "Still. I want to give you something." He raised an eyebrow. "Not now," she said. "But soon." That evening, she asked if she could sleep in his room. "Just sleep," she said gently. I don't want to wake up alone again." Darren nodded and made space for her. They lay side by side on his small bed, the silence between them no longer awkward, just full of breath and warmth. "You're not what I expected," he said finally. Nayli turned to face him. "Neither are you. I thought you'd want to leave the moment the papers were done." "I thought so too." He looked at her. "Do you want to leave?" She looked back. "No. Not anymore." Till Karen didn't believe in love. He'd seen too many lies dressed in lace, too many tears fall after the damage had already been done. In his line of work, affection was usually a mask people wore just before betrayal. And marriages? Marriages were contracts, like everything else. Signed. Stamped. Used. That was what made his newest assignment so damn irritating. He sat in the shadow of a neon-slicked alley on Kyrian 7, watching the flickering holoimage of his next target. Nayli Korath. Class, unclaimed widow, status, under dispute. Homeworld, Loris 7. Guild alert, possible false registration of interplanetary bond. Instructions, retrieve for reassessment. Alive. Unbruised. Unbonded. Unbonded. The word made Till's jaw tighten. According to the database, she'd married a human salvager named Darren Merrick. Quiet life. Small repair shop. Legal paperwork. It should have been open and shut. But the client didn't care about paperwork. They claimed it was a sham, filed under duress to dodge the guild's judgment. And the guild didn't forgive runners. Especially not ones like Nayli. Till leaned against the wall, arms crossed. He didn't like this job. There was something off about it. Still, he'd already accepted the advance. And no bounty hunter backed out mid-contract, not if they wanted to keep their license, or their head. He slotted the data chip into his implant and blinked twice. A faint blue line flickered over his vision, a beacon tracing Nayli's registered ID. There. Just outside Sector 3, near the old foundry blocks. He pushed off the wall and headed into the night. Nayli didn't notice the shadow watching her. She was standing in Darren's kitchen, humming softly while slicing a strange root Darren had brought from the corner market. It smelled like lemon and stung like mint. She liked the sensation, sharp, clean. Like something that woke her cells from sleep. Darren was downstairs in the workshop, arguing with a stubborn stabilizer unit that kept sparking despite being fully rewired. She could hear his voice through the floor, quiet curses and tired sighs. The sound comforted her. This man, this world, this rhythm, it was becoming home. She didn't hear the lock on the back window click open. Didn't hear the quiet thump of boots landing on the floor behind her. But she felt it. An old instinct, trained into her from a lifetime of looking over her shoulder, screamed run. She spun around just as a figure stepped from the shadows, tall, masked, clothed in gray. A hunter's mask, smooth, featureless except for the scanner's red lens. Nayli dropped the knife. The figure raised a hand. "Don't scream." She didn't. She knew better. Her pulse thundered, but her voice remained calm. "Guild?" The mask nodded. "You're being returned." "No," she said, voice tight. "I'm bonded. Registered. Fake bond. Rushed paperwork. Disputed status. You knew that wouldn't last." I'm legal now. Not everywhere, the figure said coldly. Not where it counts. Then he stepped forward, and Nearly bolted. Till didn't like chasing people. Especially not inside buildings. He preferred precision. Quiet extraction. But this woman, she was fast, even with fear in her limbs. She raced down the hall and through the workshop, past the confused-looking salvager who barely had time to react. Then the man lunged at Till. Big mistake. Till twisted his arm and slammed him into the wall, but not hard. Just enough to disorient. Stay down, he warned. Then Nearly was gone, through the back stairwell and into the open alley. Till swore and ran. Nearly's lungs burned. She didn't know the alley paths like Darren did. She ducked through an old freight tunnel, climbed over a heap of scrap, and slipped through a half-broken gate. Behind her, she heard footsteps, heavy, steady, relentless. She burst into a narrow street and collided with someone. Hard. They both went down. Nearly tried to scramble up, but the stranger grabbed her wrists. Nearly. Her heart leapt. Darren. He was breathless, eyes wild, but his grip was steady. He pulled her close as the bounty hunter emerged from the shadows. Darren stepped in front of her. She's bonded. The registry confirmed it. Disputed in half the outer systems, Till said flatly. She's not safe here. I don't care, Darren growled. You're not taking her. Till raised his hands. I don't hurt people. I bring them in. Alive. That's the contract. She's not merchandise. She's a bounty, Till snapped. Nearly stepped forward, voice trembling. And what are you? A leashed dog who chases whoever they tell you to. Till's jaw twitched behind the mask. And that was when she saw it, a flicker. Not anger. Not cold. Guilt. They sat in silence at the repair shop. The door was locked. Curtains drawn. The kettle hissed quietly on the stove. Till had removed his mask. He was younger than she expected, no more than 35. His skin was dark, his eyes a stormy green. His jaw was bruised from Darren's punch. I'm not proud of this job, he said finally. Nearly studied him. Then why take it? He didn't answer at first. Then, because turning it down gets you blacklisted. Then you starve. Darren folded his arms. Plenty of honest work. Not with my history, Till said. Not with the guild. Nearly blinked. You were guild. Till gave a bitter smile. Long time ago. Thought I was helping people. Didn't realize I was delivering them into slavery until it was too late. Silence. Then Nearly asked, what do you see when you look at me? Till met her gaze. I see someone they're afraid of. She tilted her head. Why? Because you ran. And because you found someone who didn't hand you back. Darren looked at him. So what now? Till stood slowly. Now I write a false report. Say she's bonded and stable. Say she's pregnant if I have to. Nearly raised an eyebrow. Till smirked. They love pregnancies. Complicates the paperwork. Darren said, won't that cost you? Till shrugged. I've lost bigger things. He headed for the door, pausing with his hand on the knob. Be careful, he said. You won this round. But the guild doesn't forgive embarrassment. He looked at Nearly once more. And neither do families like yours. Then he left. After the door closed, Nearly collapsed into a chair, shaking. Darren knelt beside her. You okay? She nodded, though she clearly wasn't. Do you trust him? He asked. No, she said. But I understand him. He waited, letting her find her breath. Darren, she said slowly, I think I want this. This? This life. This shop. You. I know it wasn't meant to be real, but it feels real now. He looked at her, heart thudding. It does to me too. She reached up and touched his face. So let's make it real. Not just legal. Real. He leaned in and kissed her, gently, slowly, like something sacred. And when she kissed him back, there were no laws. No contracts. Just breath. Just choice. Avon Korath hadn't seen her sister in over 6 years. Not since Nayli's exile. Not since the death sentence hidden beneath ceremonial lace and polite rituals. Not since she had stood at the edge of the binding altar, too scared to speak, too cowardly to act. Now, Avon stood alone at the edge of Kyrian Seven's port window, staring out at a foreign skyline filled with smokestacks, blinking towers, and a sun that looked sick and mechanical. She wore her family crest, coiled bronze serpents etched into her travel cloak, but kept it tucked beneath her scarf. The mark opened doors, yes, but it also made her a target. Loris 7 was no longer respected here. Especially not among the unbonded and the runaways. Nayli had run. And Avon had come to bring her home. Not because she believed in the law, or the guild, or the archaic bonds written in blood centuries ago. But because their mother demanded it. Because a firstborn daughter fleeing the bond brought shame to the Korath name. Because a second-born daughter failing to retrieve her was a worse one. She found the shop by scent before she ever saw the name. Oil. Heated copper. Solder and rust and clean-worn fabric. The smell of living people. The small blue sign outside read. Reed and Nayli, repairs and restoration. Avon stood in the doorway a long time before knocking. Inside, someone was humming. Not Nayli. A man's voice. Low. Rough around the edges, like sand against steel. She stepped back a little, uncertain. But before she could decide whether to walk away, the door opened. And there she was. Nayli. Changed. Not broken. Not begging. But standing upright, her shoulders square, her eyes steady. She wore grease-streaked coveralls. No makeup. No jewelry. No signs of Loris tradition. She looked alive. Avon could barely breathe. "Hello, sister," she said. Nayli froze. Her face didn't soften. She didn't run to embrace her. "I wondered how long it would take," Nayli said quietly. "You knew I'd come. I knew she'd send someone. And it was always going to be you." Avon looked away. "You're not hard to find," she said, almost ashamed. "The guild flagged your bond. They filed a retrieval protocol. I intercepted it. You didn't report me." "I haven't yet." Nayli folded her arms. "Why not?" Avon hesitated. "Because I don't know what I believe anymore." They sat across from each other in the upstairs kitchen. The man, Darren, had offered to leave, but Nayli said no. "If she wants to see who I am now," she said, "she can see all of it." Avon glanced around. The place was modest but clean. There were 2 cups drying beside the sink. A jacket draped over the back of a chair. And on the windowsill, a plant she'd given Nayli when they were children. It was artificial now, but the shape was the same. "You kept it," Avon murmured. Nayli followed her gaze. "It survived better than I did." Silence. Then, "He loves you." Nayli blinked. "That's your first question." Avon flushed. "It matters." Nayli studied her. "He respects me. Sees me. I don't have to beg to exist here. And does he know what they'll do if you don't return?" "Yes," Darren said from the corner. His voice was quiet but firm. "I know. And I'm not letting her go." Avon turned toward him, eyes sharp. They'll send more than bounty hunters next time. You know that, right? I know, he said. But I'm not afraid of tradition that enslaves people. Avon looked at Nelly again. You're really willing to burn the bridge to everything we came from? Nelly's expression didn't waver. I didn't burn it. They burned it when they gave me 3 days to sell my soul or be sold. That night, Avon stayed in the spare cot near the workbench. She lay awake, staring at the ceiling, haunted by old memories. Nelly brushing her hair. Nelly pulling her away from the altar when their mother tried to force Avon into an early pledge at 13. Nelly, crying silently after her first husband's cruel words. And Avon, silent through it all. She had always admired her older sister's fire, but she had feared it too. The fire had finally burned through their homeworld's chains. And now, it beckoned. The next day, they walked together, Nelly and Avon, through the lower markets. No words at first. Just the sound of people. Eventually, Avon said, I didn't know it could be like this. Nelly looked at her. Like what? This. A life. Choosing what to wear. Speaking without permission. You were always allowed, Nelly said softly. You just didn't believe it. I do now, Avon whispered. They stopped at a vendor selling synthetic flowers. Nelly picked one up, a strange blend of red and silver. We called these blood wishes, she said. Back home. Avon smiled. You used to press them into my books. I wanted you to remember softness. They stood there a long time. That evening, Avon sat across from Darren in the shop. I'm going to leave tomorrow, she said. Back to Loris? She shook her head. Back to somewhere that isn't. He nodded. And the guild? I'll tell them you're gone. That you moved. Left the system. He looked up. They'll punish you for lying. I lied for worse reasons before, she said. Lying to protect my sister doesn't scare me. Darren stared at her for a long moment. You're brave. She shrugged. Too late. But not too late for this. When Avon hugged Nelly goodbye the next morning, it wasn't with fear, or sadness, or guilt. It was with quiet understanding. You saved me once, Avon said. I never said thank you. Nelly held her tightly. You just did. And when Avon disappeared into the crowd, Nelly turned back toward the shop, where Darren stood waiting with tea and tired eyes, and arms that knew how to hold without binding. She smiled. And for the first time since her escape, she believed the worst was behind her.